Good morning. My name is Laura Diaz. I am the choral director at John Paul II High School. And today I would like to present for you effective sight reading strategies for the high school chorus. For many of us who have high school chorus, we have students with many different levels of experience in choral sight reading and choral reading. And I think it's important that our students know what sight reading is. And Copia has defined sight reading as the unrehearsed performance of music, but that it is a skill required of all musicians. And I think that's most important, that as music educators we remember that it is a skill that we must teach our students. So today I would like to present for you some strategies to help our students achieve at sight reading, but it's also important to note that the students know why they have to sight read. And some of the benefits of sight reading are obvious. It strengthens their reading skills, it strengthens their intonation skills, their musicality, and it builds their individual and ensemble confidence. So what does today's current research tell us about sight reading? Well, in a nutshell, there are many different aspects and factors that determine the success of our students in sight reading. Kopiev and Lee state that achievement is based upon the speed of information, mental capacity, musical expertise, and psychomotor skills all play a part in how well our students do in sight reading. Students are constantly have to, every second, be reading a note, process it, and be able to internalize it, audiate it, and then sing it. In another article, Lehman and Kopiev, the goal of sight reading is authentic performance. And I think as choral directors, our goal to sight read is authentic performance. We want to be able to go to contests and nail sight reading and get that award, get the sweepstakes, because our students can sight read. They also state that sight reading is comparable to playing by ear or even improvising. Most important, training is the most important factor in sight reading. We must train our students every day to sight read. Sight reading can be seen as a problem-solving situation. They must determine the key. They must determine time signatures. They must determine tonality, chord progressions, cadences, dynamics, many different factors that go into sight reading. And lastly, I think it's real important to note that students cannot sight read beyond the level of performance. So as choral directors, when we program our year, we have to keep in mind at what level of difficulty of music do we want our students to achieve. And then when we go to compile our sight reading exercises, we can't give our students something to sight read that they've never seen in class. We can't expect students to do a dotted quarter note followed by an eighth note if they've never seen it in literature. DeMorris and May questions the strength of the individual in group sight singing. In most classrooms, sight singing is done in a choral ensemble. DeMorris and May state that it's real important that we test students individually, not only to keep track of where they are musically, but to be able to notice their strengths and weaknesses in sight reading. Many times and throughout the year, I'm lucky enough to have many practice rooms in my room. I set up my computer. They have to go in one at a time and do a sight reading skill. Use the technology that we have today to help you in these things, to help your students become better sight readers. Also, choral directors must be willing to spend time on sight reading. The first 5-10 minutes of class should be devoted to sight reading exercises before you start any kind of literature work. Private lessons are suggested, especially keyboard lessons, to help build sight reading skills for our students. In an article by Henry, this goes more into different strategies that we can use for sight singing. He suggests that we use tonal patterns and tonal context as a teaching tool. Constantly do singing patterns with your students. Even if it's not a reading, they're hearing the intervals. Develop a tonal pattern vocabulary. Have them sing Lasso Me 10 times and they're going to hear it. They're going to be able to recognize that in a piece of music. Students with an established tonal vocabulary score better on sight reading exercises. This also goes along with Gordon's music theory learning, that students internalize and audiate tonal patterns, something that is familiar to them, they can then take and do unfamiliar things successfully. He says that emphasize pitch skills and harmonic function training are effective teaching tools. Have them warm up on a 1-4-5-1 cadence. Teach them what harmonic function is, and then they can notice that in their literature when they start singing. Use familiar songs and unfamiliar melodic material to reinforce reading skills. Again, the familiar over and over and over will then be able to be translated into something that's unfamiliar when they get to that sight reading exercise. In another article by Henry, he states that sight reading skills help musical independency. I mean, that's just obvious, that the more we sight read, the more music we expose our students to, the more musically independent they're going to become and be able to do that without us in the room. Students who employ vocally establishing the key, the use of hand signs, keeping the beat, will score higher on sight reading exercises. Give your students tools in which they can use to be successful. Now, this may vary depending on what you believe in curriculum-wise and what you think works better for you and your students, but definitely give them something to use to help in sight reading. Students should be taught musical content and procedural skills, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Consistent instruction gives the students security and confidence. Do it the same way every time. They'll be trained, they'll know what to expect, they'll know how to approach the problem. Individual assessment, again, is key. As a final exam, you can have them sight read a passage. You can do it on the computer. There's lots of different ways that you can do individual assessment.